So yes, we started actually not even in 2002, in 2003, and we were working on large projects and flying around the world and feeling very, very self-important. And of course, we landed in our apartment to start our office, like many people do, and waited for the phone to ring, which surprisingly it did. This is our idea of morphing, which obviously is not working. Oh, yes. And so we waited for the phone to ring, and...
yeah, so we waited for the phone to ring, and our first commission was for a doghouse. And so we, since we had been at this big firm doing like urban projects and museums and stuff, we thought, well, okay, it's a doghouse, but at least we'll do a doghouse for the urban dog. And so we, especially because we thought the life of the urban dog is maybe not so nice. So we thought, what can we do for the urban dog during those long days cooped up in the apartment? And so what we came up with was a doghouse that has 3 video screens, an odor machine, and a treadmill. And basically that allows the urban dog to experience some of the life of its rural cousins while it's cooped up in the apartment. So for example, it can chase butterflies during the day, or the more classic chasing cars. We could possibly, the dog could spend a day at the beach, or chase cats if they wanted to. And then we thought, the urban dog's self-esteem is quite low, so we could have modules, so the Chihuahua could kind of race the greyhounds, and then and win, and and then this was our first application of what we call the Nokia concept, which is a kind of the idea that the skin could change for every apartment dweller, so you could have kind of Louis XV or more wild ones. So this is the urban doghouse, and this is the dog thinking of its life as an urban doghouse, rural dog. Try to fix that.
So. Yeah. And then, as most of you know, started the New York process, which is a very, very slow process. And our intent was to instead of sort of proclaiming what we were about, really start working and seeing where we would land. And we called that the 5-year plan, Say Yes to Everything. And we did do that and ended up with 105 projects. But, we're not going to show all of them, don't worry.
Nice. Our last project we're going to show tonight is our latest. It's a project for PS1 in Queens. It's a competition for young architects to introduce them to concepts of construction and design and bankruptcy. And very exciting. We're passing a hat after this. And it's nice to end with this because similar to the doghouse, essentially it's a party, but we wanted to kind of give it a little bit more gravitas. Traditionally, it's a party around the theme of the urban beach. But we felt like we had seen a lot of urban beaches over the past 8 years, and we wanted to kind of rethink the urban beach. So we started this project very seriously with the research into the history of the urban beach, or the beach as a kind of place of liberation. Going back to 1928, we went in 8s, since it's 08. So in 28, basically the first paid holidays for workers, where the beach became this kind of symbol of leisure for the first time in history. And then, of course, in 68, the rallying cry of May 68 in Paris was beneath the pavement, the beach. Amal?
Yes, sous les pavés, la plage.
En français. So the beach became this kind of idea of liberation and freedom. And so we thought, what is our generation's version, 40 years later? I know that we have to respect the 68 people for the rest of our lives, but what is our generation's attitude? And so we came up with...
Sur les pavés, la ferme.
Above the pavement, the farm. So what we thought is, we are really interested in ecology and urbanism, as we have explained, and the idea that we could actually, win a competition maybe by proposing an urban farm in Queens was very exciting for us, and tied in with a lot of ideas about what we think the future of cities will be, and the growing local food movement and other things that we're interested in. And so we proposed this as a kind of emblem of a series of shifts that we see happening in the world. So from industrialization to post-industrialization, global to local, mass production to mass customization, suburbanization to what we call rurbanization, so kind of adding all the rural elements to the city and kind of cutting out the suburbs entirely, zoning to mixing, free market to farmers market, and from sand we hoped we would try hay. So we started with thinking about space and how we could fill the space of the courtyard. A lot of projects had this kind of dispersed elements, which we thought could be interesting, or a perimeter, but we rapidly kind of settled on what we called the single gesture, which was the idea that through one kind of marking we could occupy all of the courtyards, creating different spaces around it and have it be at such a scale that it would kind of broadcast itself to the neighborhood. So our first idea, thinking back on some of these projects like Super Studio and Yonah Friedman, our first idea was a kind of bridge farm, so a kind of massive megastructure farm floating in the air, and we thought it's kind of funny to replace the abstract idealized grid of architecture with the fairly realistic and dirty grid of agriculture. But then we realized that a floating farm bridge is exciting, but no one was going to see the farm, and also that meant it was very heavy. So what we did is we took the floating farm bridge and we folded it down, so it becomes a kind of folded farm, so half of it is resting on the ground, and that also was very interesting because simply the sectional difference creates a number of different conditions as well as its position and plan. So the folded farm is there on the ground with the mini Tatlin's Tower, which announces something. And we thought, okay, then next step was how we're going to make the folded farm. So we obviously came up with cardboard tubes, channeling Shigeru Ban. Cardboard tubes are humble, they're fairly inexpensive, fairly lightweight. The proposal is to bolt together the cardboard tubes so that they form a kind of rigid structure, introduce shelves where necessary, which will hold between 9 and 12 inches of soil, irrigate them with an irrigation system, and grow tomatoes for Bloody Marys. So that's the idea. What's nice about this is some tubes are open, some are closed, so it creates a series of shadow patterns throughout time, so a kind of tight shadow pattern during the morning, and then a kind of dappled light effect during the afternoons, and then at night we have lights that'll light it up. So the whole thing looks like this, a kind of folded farm that lands in Queens. Here you see the shadow patterns and the way it occupies the courtyards. Some of the tubes are extruded as columns, obviously to hold the thing up, actually a lot of them, and more every day as we're working with our structural engineers. And each column becomes a program. So this is the kind of really where the party interacts with the farm. So each column has its own personality, its own identity. We have a mirror column that makes you look skinny. We have a phone charging column so you can keep in touch with all your friends. We have a curtain column so you can get away from the party, or you and a friend can have some privacy, or a kind of a swing column. We have seating columns. We have two sound columns. One, you kind of go in and you see twinkling starlights and you hear crickets chirping. The other one, we're working with the Queens Farm Museum, which is a 47-acre working farm in Queens. We're going to put a wireless kind of Bobby Brown mic onto one of the cows, and so basically you'll lean up there and you'll be able to talk with the cow.
Yes, her name is Daisy.
Yeah, classic. And then we also have seating. We have fans that will blow over some of the herbs to provide a nice scent. We have the pool that's kind of carved out of the middle, the kind of central park of the urban farm folded structure. We have a farmer's market, of course, an herb display column, kind of area for kids where the height is too low for everybody else. We have a periscope, etc. And so, and what's nice is that the ground occupation looks like this. So you just have the columns of program, and then simply the area at the middle where it touches the ground. The section shows this kind of incredible difference of spaces and activity. And this shows the somewhat of a view of what you will see. Here you see again the columns and the seating and the shadow pattern, which shows up better here. This is the farmer's market, and you see the farm on top. We hope to have different vegetables come up at different times. We've organized the planting in this, what we call a daisy pattern, named after the cow, I guess, although we hadn't met Daisy at that point. But the idea is to arrange all of the crops in these kind of daisies and have crops that pop up at different times throughout the summer. And they're organized in such a way that they create picking holes. So here, you kind of, the farmer will ascend on a genie lift or on a ladder up into the middle of the picking hole and then be surrounded by his crop, which he or she can work on as they farm. And we've developed the famous picking skirt demonstrated by Sam, who was so embarrassed he didn't come to the lecture today. But So here's Sam demonstrating the picking skirt. So the picking skirt, basically you start out like this as you go up the genie lift, then you can unclip the picking skirt and clip it into the sides of the tube, so it creates a kind of area for you to put the produce and do your farm. This is the sweetest slide. Here he is. Tending his garden, and then the produce goes into the skirt as well as weeds or whatever else you're doing, and then you kind of reclip back on the genie list, and then you can distribute cabbages to your friends. So the response has been incredible. It's very fun. We are going to grow half of the vegetables on Rikers Island. Prisoners there are going to grow them in a greenhouse project that the New York Horticultural Society has. The mayor's office is very excited about it. They're going to be bringing the farmers market, and they've hooked us up with a cistern. Patlin's Tower will actually be a rain collecting cistern. The prisoners are all scheduled to be released in time to come and help us garden. The thing here, you see one of them working away. There's the periscope. We also have a waterfall. I hope you all can join us, especially those who donate. This is the irrigation system. The entire thing will be, of course, solar powered. So the solar power will power the lights, the sound machine. Very importantly, the juicing station, where we will turn cucumbers and carrots into new types of cocktails. The pump, the fans for the scent, etc. And this is a kind of view of the model. All these plants were made in our office out of Play-Doh. And this is hopefully what it will look like in June. That's the end of our lecture. Thank you.